Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Centers for Spiritual Living Charlotte. Today, I'm your host, Alan, and we're delighted that you've chosen to join us on this wonderful Mother's Day. And we are so happy to wish everybody, every mother out there, a wonderful Mother's Day. And we also love to connect to so many people through modern technology such as Facebook, Facebook Live, and so many other uses of modern technology. So I encourage you to check out our website, cslcharlotte.org, put in a prayer request, and subscribe. We're always adding something new each and every week. So who are we at CSL Charlotte? Well, we're a new thought community based on the science of mind. The science of mind philosophy was developed in the early 20th century by writer and lecturer Dr. Ernest Holmes. Dr. Holmes was a man on a mission. He combined truth and wisdom from all the world's traditions and spiritual paths, and created a fresh, new way for us to look at ourselves and how we fit into this world. So what do we do here at CSL Charlotte? Well, for one thing, we're a diverse community, and we are open and affirming, so we accept you just the way you are. You can just be yourself. You don't have to leave your philosophy or nature of knowledge. In fact, we love and celebrate diversity here. And we use many different Holy Scriptures, such as the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, just to name a few examples. So why are we here at CSL Charlotte? Well, our vision is to embody these teachings and become leaders, and to inspire future leaders so we can transform this world into a much better place. So if that sounds awesome to you, then I encourage you to check out our weekly consciousness meetings that meet on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. And there we'll give you the tools to do just that, how to become a leader in your own life and in your community. So before I pass the mic over to our fabulous leader, I would like to read you with a thought for today. I think that the power is the principle of moving forward, as though you have the confidence to move forward. Eventually gives you confidence when you look back and see what you've done. And that is by Robert Downey Jr. And now I would like to pass the mic over to our fabulous, radiant Reverend Rosedale Jones.
Thank you, Alan. And what a fabulous day today is. I guess everybody knows it's a very, what is today? Today is a very celebratory day for all of the women species, and it's Mother's Day. And yes, it's Mother's Day. So welcome to all of you women out there. And if you don't have any children, then you have a mother, and you can remember how beautiful she was today, or you can go tell her. So whatever it is, do that. So with that being said, thank you, Alan, for being our MC. And to all of our listeners and everyone everywhere, have a wonderful day today. It's still a happy one. Welcome to CSL Charlotte. We are the Mind, Body, Spirit Center. And today our attention is on living by principle, not precedent. So first of all, we'll open up our Sunday celebrations with an affirmative prayer. But we have our emeritus practitioner, Maureen Thurston, who AKA Mo, and she is going to open us up with some beautiful words. And so let's listen to her. Let's hear if she's living by principle, not precedent. Okay, Mo, let's pray.
Thank you, Reverend Rosedale. So on this amazing Sunday, I know that each and every one of us, as we step into this blessed service that Reverend Rosedale has prepared for us, I know that each one of us brings with us a heart and a mind that is open to hear, to love, and to receive the gifts that this amazing woman shares with us every week. I know that this service is blessed. I know that each and every one of us take from her amazing words what is ours to carry through with us for the rest of the week. It is done with ease and grace. This service runs smoothly and easily with no type of hiccups at all, electronically or any other way. So as I release and I let go, I know that each and every one of us are blessed in this time that we spend here together. And we can lock this in for ourselves and the community by simply saying, and so it is.
Absolutely, Mo, and so it is. Yes, we are having a wonderful service already. I've already seen it in the end. So, with that being said, we got our on our platform. On our platform, the next one is a person who is on the journey. She's someone who has been a meaningful part of my journey so far. And, living by principle and not by precedent is a powerful statement to be making because I can see it in her. See, Jariva Trailer, aka JT, is not only a gifted yoga facilitator, but through that all, she has shared her practice, and we've grown pretty close for sharing her practice with me. So I witnessed firsthand how she embodies today's message, whether she knows it or not, but living by principle, not by precedent, and she works on that. So with that being said, she works from the inner truth, not from stories of the past. So with that being said, you got an idea what her reading is about. So with that being said, after JT's reading, listen to the song I Am Light by Aire.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here. Today's reading is from CSL Dallas from their daily word titled Liberation from the Past, Freedom to Change and Grow. Liberation from the past means you don't have to repeat the past. Imagining a possibility really does mean that it doesn't matter how it used to be done. Yes, things can be learned from the past, but we don't want the past to limit the future. Whether it's things as simple as creating new holiday traditions when our children grow up and get married, or things as complex as creating a new business model for a sustainable future. It's so easy to say it's never been done before. This means we don't have to put in the effort to try something new. We don't have to feel discomfort of moving into the unknown. We don't have to let go of the way it's always been done. But there is no liberation, creativity, or growth without change. I have an almost complete disregard of precedent and a faith in the possibility of something better. It irritates me to be told how things have always been done. I defy the tyranny of precedent. I go for anything new that might improve the past. A quote from Clara Barton. The one thing that is constantly and consistently true about a human physical life is that it is constantly changing. We can resist this and cling to what we know, or we can embrace change and know that we are always guaranteed of another possibility. If we want things to be different, we have to let go of the old and embrace the changes that let in the new. Spiritual contemplation. Is there something in your life you are holding on to because you're afraid that a change might be worse rather than better? Where are you allowing the past to limit your future? How do you create liberation? Affirmation. I know that Spirit is always moving through me to express more life, more love, more wholeness, and joy. I release any fear about letting go of the past. I know I move toward a more abundant and fulfilling future, and so it is.
Beautiful. We'll start with a short centering and just relax your eyes and either place them into your lap or close them, but it's all your choice. And when you breathe, breathe in deeply from the gut and gently let that exhale out to bring you into the light. See, I Am Light, the song, speaks directly to things like our identity, divine nature, and freedom from the past. All those experiences we had as labels, how we labeled it. It's living by spiritual principle rather than personal or social societal precedent. See, that's your hint for today's talk, living by principle, not by precedent. The idea that we're not our past, like she sings in the song, we're not our stories, we're not even our past mistakes we made. We are light. That's principle in action. And two, see, the fear voice is the ego when you start hearing that. But India, as you can see, she threw the ego overboard when she said, I am not the voices in my head. I am light. So I am light is not just a song. It's a spiritual affirmation of the still small voice, like from last week, as principle today. And so it's always saying something great to us. It's telling us you are already enough. And it's making us realize I am already enough. And then India Irie says, I am light. Saying it is simple. So I invite you to say one of these affirmations. I am light. I live by principle, or I am free from past precedent. As the reading JT read said, hey, that's what was. This is what is. So wiggle your fingers and your toes and integrate your mind, body, and spirit. Now, embrace the energy of your space. And as you do, start to feel and open up to your space as we come into the idea and living by principle, not precedent. Now, here's the thing about these two parts of the spectrum of us. As divine human beings, we're equipped with egos, but we are much more than our ego, but the ego is a tool, right? Ego protects us by revisiting past experiences, but then it decides which one is positive, which one is negative. However, if we allow the ego to take over, it establishes our beliefs and behaviors based on that information. So the ego brings up examples that don't even serve us. It focuses all on what was more than it focuses on what is. And so the ego thinks it's helping us live in the present world in a safe way. Now, safe is a scary thing to live by. Because if you think everything's got to be safe, then you don't do any risks. Then you don't get any ahead much. You got to take risks. No risk, no goodies. So you don't have to be safe. So you can thank your ego for trying to keep you safe. You can say, hey, just don't have to condemn it now. We understand you're trying to keep me safe. Got it. So when I talk to my ego, I remind myself and my ego that it's a tool. It's not my identity. So with that being said, this week I put my ego to rest a lot with this powerful affirmation from Science of Mind. That is, principle is not bound by precedent, by any strict strength of imagination. And every time the ego tries to remind me, but you know how you used to do it, I say, listen, principle is calling me to do this. And, so I don't need to deal with precedent. So principle is not bound by precedent. Just an example. So it's harder for my ego to keep me reminded of that, because I'm going to turn around and give it another affirmation to sit it down, to shut it down, to make it say, zip it. See, my ego builds a case a lot. I don't know about you, but my ego builds this case of what was probable, right, on the past, based on the past. But principle declares what is possible based on the spiritual truth. So my ego may whisper to me, well, you can't do it like that because that's not how we usually do it. But principle declares that, hey, you can do whatever possibility you want now. So I like principle. I mean, I don't like it. I love principle. So instead of me sticking to those old paradigms where I felt comfortable, because comfort can kill you as well as quick as anything else. So don't get too comfortable in those places that you are. Well, I don't want to speak up because, no. So what I do was I start leaning onto new possibilities and I get them rooted in my insight. Because, and then what happens from my affirmations is they strengthen my thoughts and my insights makes me speak just clean as day. So I stopped the story of what has been and what always was, and I now am living in the truth of what anything I want can be. So in JT's reading, here's what hit home for me. It says, the one thing that is constantly and consistently true about a human physical life is that it's constantly changing. In other words, change is the only thing constant in this world. See, we can resist this and we could cling to what we know because it's easier, it's safer. Safe is going to kill. No, it's not going to kill you. But safe can be a little bit of holding you stuck. Well, I mean, everything is good here. I mean, yeah, my bills are paid and, oh, I'm in this great relationship. Well, I'll say it like this because I don't want to change anything. I don't want to know anything new. I got to work for it or something like that. We can, like I said, we can resist and we can let this go or we can cling to it. But it's better to let it go sometimes. Or here's another thing, we can embrace change and start to transform. And then if we embrace the change, we are guaranteed, I promise you, we're guaranteed a whole nother possibility. Also from the reading, I love that quote by Clara Barton. And the beginning of it said, I have almost complete disregard of precedent and a faith in the possibility of something better. That's powerful. So precedent or the past, that's what precedent is. It's the past or what it's always been or status quo, right? So the precedent, the past, it informs us, but it doesn't define us unless we choose to let it. And that's why in the science of mind, we firmly and proudly say principle is not bound by precedent. Now let that land right into your soul. See, just because something happened before doesn't mean it has to happen again. Just because we've experienced limitation, heartbreak, loss, or failure doesn't mean we're doomed to repeat it. The past may shape us. The past may, it didn't say must, I almost said must. The past may shape us, but it doesn't have the power to define us again unless we give it that power. Principle is just another word for spirit in action, for the creative power, for universe, creative intelligence, God, okay? Principle is whatever you want to call it. It's just like God. It's an energy. It's just principle. It's always responding to us in now, right this minute, not in the then, not in the then. It doesn't ask what happened yesterday in order for us to manifest. It does not say, oh, this is what you're trying to do. So remember last year, no, that's ego. That's precedent. Principle does not do that. It responds to what we're dealing with today. And so it's not limited either by age. You heard India Arie sing, I'm not my age. I'm not the things my family did. I am whatever, but I'm certainly not all those things. So it doesn't define us by diagnosis or race, not even economics. And forget about the family history part. It doesn't even do that. But you know what does? That's precedent. But principle? Huh. It plays by a whole different set of rules. And those rules are all governed by consciousness. So with that being said, if we decided that we've been conditioned by old beliefs, and believe me, we have, listening to other people's passing down their stuff that they learned from other places, and this is how you do it. I remember years ago, people used to cut the edges off a ham, and they did it so much till it was just what they do. And one day, a child asked the mom, "Why do you cut the edges off the ham?" And no particular reason. She said, "Well, that's the way they've always done it." You get it? Precedent. Well, you don't want to live by that. If you start living by precedent, you begin to say to yourself, okay, this is life. Meaning, if we are conditioned again by those old beliefs of other people, by fear, by trauma, and also by repetition over and over and over, cutting the two ends of the ham, or wherever we're doing, that takes precedent, then it's time for us to say to our egos, thank you, but I'm choosing to live a new life. And now I'm going to be living by precedent, not principle, not just precedent. I'm going to be living by principle. All right, so here's the question. The question becomes for me, am I letting the past write my present, or am I allowing the truth revealed to me what's possible? So if I start to do my reflection and I say, well, you know what? It's time for me to get a new car. And I may say, well, this is the status quo. You got to do this and you got to do that first. But am I allowing the truth to reveal another possibility to me? That's the question. It's all about that. See, because here's my thing. If principle is not bound by precedent, how do we begin living as though this is true? Well, it starts with us catching ourselves right in the middle, catch ourselves right in the middle of that conditioned thinking that we have. Because sometimes we don't need to make major changes all the time. We just need to change that little loop that we got going on over and over. You know how to loop videos, the same stuff playing over and over? We got to stop them from running that same story. See, and here's another question. Have you ever caught yourself saying something like, I've always, well, if that's the case, then that phrase, I've always, is the thing that keeps you stuck. When you catch yourself that, dip it and say, well, you know what? That's an outdated story, because now I'm going to start to focus on what the possibilities are instead of what was or what it could be, what you thought it was. So as we get these people passing down these old things and how old age is going to work for us and how sick people get by what age and all of that, people get conditioned by that. They literally do. I have family and friends who I remember the way their moms talk. They talk in the same exact way. They say stuff like, I'm old. I said, no, you're old. You can keep that. Don't put that on me. The ego decides what's true, and it convinces us. So if you're with somebody you really, really like, you're going to be listening to their stuff. Your ego is going to buy into it if you're not careful. All right. And then you're going to be saying, oh, that's the way it goes. So don't feel the need to fall in line with the present society that we live in. Remember, you don't want to do that. Okay. My consciousness would never accept the fact that women have menopause. I can't even say the word mental. I will never buy that. So that they're not going to condition me with that one. I had a friend when I was in my 40s and 50s, and she would always say, because she was like 70 or something like that. And she would always say, well, see, then when you get here, you're going to have this hemorrhaging and all these things. I said, no, I don't think so. I doubt that. And she would say, well, yeah, you wait. No, I don't wait. I decided that I'm going to do it this way. And then Here's another thing. One of my clients said to me yesterday, I said, "Oh, let me help you with that swelling in your foot." So I give people prescriptions by doing it with them and then writing it down so they could go home and do it. So she said, "Well, this is hereditary." I said, "Let me just tell you something. In order for something to be truly hereditary, you got to do what your family do to get what you get. And that's the same thing I said about diabetes. My whole family has it. I said, yeah, I get that. But it's not hereditary for me because I don't need to do what they did to get what they got. My mom, all of them said, okay, since they know it's running in the family, let me just go to the doctor, get my diagnosis, and here, I'm right, I got it. You bought it. Get it? Precedent. See, now here's a real vivid metaphor that helps me to stay warned about the danger of staying stuck and my habitual unconscious patterns that I have. The only difference between, listen to this, the only difference between a rut and a grave is their dimensions. Ooh. See, now a rut is a groove that people get stuck in. It's a routine. It's a simple way of thinking, and it feels so familiar. But see, familiarity keeps us small. So it's described as repeating the same behaviors, thoughts, and emotions year after year, day after day, that no longer serves us, but we're stuck. But here's the thing about the grave. The grave, on the other hand, represents the end. It's finality, baby. It's lifelessness. It's no movement. It's that person who gets up in the morning, goes to work, comes home, sit down, get up to do it the next day. That's the grave. And many people live in the grave until they actually make that transition, because you don't have to go to the grave. You know, everybody doesn't get buried in a grave, right? Some people like being cremated, which is, to me, is a great idea. But that's personal. So in our philosophy, we don't deny facts, but we do deny them the final say. We deny them the final say. We identify the state that we'd like to live in or that we'd like to change. Then we shift our attention into a new direction and decide that this is the state I want to be in. So I use these fabulous 3 words to help me change states, to help me transform, to get unstuck, because there's a gazillion things that I know that keeps popping up, because it does it for me, it does it for everyone else. But I'm at that stage in my life where I start to really understand that all I got to do is do something. And here's one of the things I like doing, and that is these 3 words, and it's called up until now. That stops that whole unconscious thinking in the tracks, right? So in other words, when I say up until now, what I'm actually doing is stopping what I just heard me about to say and honor where I've been and say, great, I'm not denying the facts. Okay, great, I was there. Yeah, you hurt me. Yeah, I hurt you. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, you did that. But you know what? Now I'm going to turn into the direction of where I'm going. Up until now, for me, it acknowledges what has been for me without me being defined by it. The past, the precedent. It also leaves me that room for a new outcome. And I always get a new outcome because I'm expecting one. So we do this all through the sacred tool of what? Spiritual practice. So we don't ask spirit in spiritual practices or prayer work or meditation. We don't ask spirit to give us anything. We convince ourselves. Prayer is for the mind who's praying to be changed. It has nothing to do with something going to hand something down to me because I said and uttered a prayer. Nope. Once I change my mind, I can convince myself of something better. And what do I use? Powerful Affirmations, powerful affirmations. We train our consciousness to receive our good that's already present. That's what we do. You want to receive it? Then you better know it's already coming. It's already there. But when you start acting like you don't know anything, guess what? You don't get anything. Right? So when we plant a new idea so powerfully in the mind, it displaces and throws out that old habitual thought pattern or paradigm that we have. And when we do that, oh my goodness, we step out into, we step out of this, what is that word I use first? The rut. We step out of a rut and we got a renewed life. Just that simple. When we repeat affirmations, we're not being poetic. You know, people think that, oh, it sounds good, so I'll just say that. No, just do it because it sounds good. Do it because what it's doing is it's actually changing the chemical signals in your body's cells, in the cells of your body. Oh my God, guys, the mind, body, and spirit, all of them work together. There is no change. And people keep thinking, I'm going to be all right with this. No, you need it all. You need to get healthy with that body. You need to work out, get it strong. Maybe practice some good yoga. But strength training is very, very important too. But you gotta get that body open and receptive to you, so you gotta use it in certain ways. Then you gotta get those cells activated. The mind, the body, and the spirit. So remember, I was reading this study from 2016 in the biological psychiatry program that I look into sometime, and it shows that meditation focused on breathing lowers our perception or pain threshold tolerance. Interesting, huh? And the participants in that study, what they did was they reported notably, significantly less pain compared to the people who were given the placebo treatments in that study. I like those little studies because it reminds me that, okay, if this is what happens with most people, then therefore I should be able to be on the receiving end of this, right? So through spiritual practice, we literally shut down the ego's obsession. I told you, the ego is obsessed with what is because it wants you to be safe. But safe is not a healthy place to be in this climate, ever. It's never been. Poor people stay poor because they live safely in the same place. Got to shut down that obsession of that ego and because it's very obsessed with precedent, very, very obsessed with it. And then we got to open up to principle, because principle is saying, hey, what about today? You got all these big, beautiful trees out here. Go out here and walk this out. Also another research was showing me how just slowing down the breath has a big impact on our mental or emotional well-being. And although I looked back the other day and said, oh crap, it's not just now that you're healing and that you're so good right now, but you were doing this all along. I've been teaching yoga for over 20 some odd years. And what I found, probably about 30, but what I found was that every time I start people off, I'm talking about the breath. When I give meditation, I'm talking about the breath. So it's not new to my body. It's just occurring to me that you were doing this all along, even though you're learning that this was what you were supposed to be doing. So people who do breath work, reportedly, they say, have less anxiety and also are more emotionally balanced. And there was a time I was not emotionally balanced. I was a whiner. I wanted my way, and that was that. But now I'm more polished with getting my way. It's through spirit. It's not through other people. You don't have to give me anything. You don't have to talk to me about nothing. You don't have to be my friend, because guess what? More friends are going to come when you leave me. See, spiritually, all this stuff I'm saying makes sense. And then you just got to remember this. The breath is our life force. And it began to make sense to me just recently when I said, well, all this time, that's why you're so susceptible to the universe and to all of this stuff, because you've been breathing every day for the last umpteen years. And I have even gotten to the point where, when I'm driving, I say 210 now, you got time, and I go do the whole 10. Because what happens is it causes us to connect with intention. So when we connect with intention, we calm the mind, we open our heart, and then we open ourselves to this divinity, this divine clarity. See, the phrase that we use, aligned with spiritual principle, I know it sounds beautiful, but the thing is, people need to know what that actually looks like. And so, how do we actually align with spiritual principle to work with its creative process or creative power? Okay, how do we do that? Well, before we can change anything, let's just know this: we have to become aware. So we have to ask ourselves, and at nighttime, I'm asking more questions. Now I'm asking way more questions than I used to. I remember saying, I'm going to do that, and I would do it every now and then. Now I got to figure out what happened today. What would you do different? But anyway, I would ask, if you want to become aware, ask yourself. I always say ask yourself, because you're going to get the answer if you ask. And I say, what story am I telling people? Because if I want to know oh, really? Are you saying that you're pissed off with this and that? Yeah. Well, so wonder you're frustrated, right? Principle simply responds to the energy we put into the world. Every thought, every belief, every single feeling is a seed, because the universe and the principle and spirit is nothing but a field of soil. And all we do is plant those little seeds, the thought, the belief, the feeling, all day long. But principle, being as infinite as it is, you know what it does? It actually grows whatever we planted. But the thing is, one of the most important things it needs our receptivity. See, hint, hint, that's another thing we need. We need to be receptive to it. So we need that receptivity in order for it to flow into form. You have to be brave, and you have to ask the right questions to yourself, because some people won't ask the questions because they don't want the answer. Some people don't answer you because they don't want to hear themselves answer the question. We all have different reasons why we do what we do, but we're the ones that got to clean that up. So here's what you do. Here's what you do in order for you to turn your ego away and push it toward up toward spirit. This is what we do. You have to ask yourself this: what would the universe, principle, infinite, what would infinite see that I don't see yet? What does infinite see that I don't see yet? What does the infinite see that I don't see yet? What does principle see that I don't see yet? But finally, this is the thing. You got to trust the process and surrender your timing. Surrender and stay consistent. Your timing is not important, because principle does not work on our schedule, but it always works. So just notice, once you start to notice your conversations between ego and principle, it's going to start taking a little more and more guts, a little more gall, bravery to shut down your ego with the truth. Because you want to be right with everybody. So you can't be right with everybody. It's not going to work. But you want to be. You just got to shut that ego down, because it doesn't have to be what everybody wants you to be, because the ego makes you think, oh, if they love me, it's all cool. No, it doesn't matter whether they love you or not. Being brave, what it does, it invites you to this beautiful divine courage. And what it is, it helps you to speak from your higher truth, not from your history. And remember this, it takes real courage, it takes real bravery for you to actually say, I'm more than my history. You heard the song, India Aire, I am not the voices in my head. I'm not my past. And then you want to be able to say to yourself, and when somebody comes to pass you down some of those crazy things that, like this is going to happen and that's going to happen. No, I am the possibility of now. So that kind of bravery shifts our energy. It opens our heart, and it also helps us align with all of that creative power from the universe through us, the principle and us. So just break that cycle of silence, break that cycle of fear and self-doubt, because when you allow words to create something bold, beautiful, and awesome for you, that's when you can say, I'm going to be me. So listen to the song Brave by Sara Bareilles. Just wanna see you. Okay, here we back. See you be brave. So I had to say the last part. So say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Because honestly, I want to see you be brave. You heard what Sarah said. That's what living by principle, not precedent, is all about. It takes bravery to speak a new truth. It takes bravery to leave the past in the past. It takes bravery to hold you up in front of anybody and stare down the enemy. You heard the song, stand down. That's right, I'm good and I'm better than what you thought I was. Huh. Fabulous. I like when he says that. Also, he hit home to me when he said we're planting our seeds in the soil of possibility. Ha! I mean, a principle as the possibility. Wow. Yeah. He always hits that. And he ties it in with the talk. So that was really fabulous. Now, with that being said, I want to thank and give a big shout out to all of our peeps on the platform today, and thank you, Alan, for that awesome MC job and that great quote that you always come up with. You love your quotes, and that's good. And thanks to our awesome and beautiful, loving Mo Thurston. So Mo, thank you for opening and closing us today. And it's been a wonderful time having you to do that today. And thanks, JT, for reading, because you did do the thing like you should. I think she left, but I know she did a good job. So with that, let's just say thank you, Timmy P, for the announcements, because you always hit them hard and everybody knows exactly where we're going and where we're coming from. And Mo, thank you so much for emailing all of our prayers out to people who send in their requests. Like I always say, if you have not received a prayer from Mo, you have not put in a prayer request. So put that prayer request in and get it in. And before our last song, let's consider this. Now today, we talked about living by principle, not precedent. Remember that this week, because here's something about the spirit of living by principle, not by precedent. When we choose not to bow down to the old stories of how it used to be and how we're gonna lose out and this and that if we change, and if we step into what's possible, we can become spiritual conquerors. We don't have to be conquerors by force either. We are already by clarity. We are by choice. We are conquerors, and we are in the power of principle, because that's what's moving through us. So just tell the ego, stare the ego in the eye with this affirmation. I'd rather stand tall than live on my knees because I'm a conqueror and I don't accept defeat. Don't tell me no, because there's one thing about me is I am a conqueror. So with that being said, this is our final song, Take It In, Conqueror by the Empire Cast. Beliefs I had, I rise with principle. I am not my past. I am a conqueror. Did you hear that affirmation? Because you know what? I am divine principle and divine potential. What about you? Wow, Mo, are you ready to pray us out now?
I am. Thank you once again, Reverend Rosedale, for that amazing message. You just astound me every time you speak. And I know that our community is so blessed to have you at the helm. So as we close out this wonderful service here together, I know that each one of us goes into our day carrying that message with us. I know that it will continue to feed us throughout the week as we go through our daily lives. I know that each and every one of us are blessed beyond any type of measure, and that our lives are full of joy and love and laughter. So as I release this service and close it down for the day, I know that it is good. I know that each and every one of us go forward into this amazing Sunday with a heart that is light, a mind that is open, and with love in our hearts. So I release and I let go and I let God, and together we can all confirm this for ourselves and own it for each and every one of us by simply saying, and so it is, and so I let it be. Amen.
And so it is, and so I let it be. Whoa, Mo, thank you so much. That was enormous prayer for Mother's Day. So you make sure, Mo, you have a great time with your sons today and grandsons and your mommyhood. So with that being said, as we wrap up our time together, remember that living by principle, not by precedent, is not just some old idea. Practice was always something that that I was doing and didn't realize it for one, but now you know practice aligns with principle. So as long as we know that, let's become more conscious, more open and intentional and active in our relationship with life in general. And with that, remember this. The universe is constantly supporting us on our journey, supporting you, supporting me, and I just love it. So until we meet again, remember, we got to start living by principle, not precedent. And so it is.